artist by name of Christy. I think I talked about him last
Christy.
time. He's in Brooklyn. He's Pakistani American.
Okay.
Hello, and welcome to the second episode of this podcast, Whatever, where I, your host Aditya Mandlek, and Mr. Moon discuss life as architects and life when we are not architecting. Also, I would love to thank everyone who joined in on this journey with us with the first episode and also have shared their valuable feedback on how we could improve our content to reach more like minded individuals. Doing so, we've split the current episode into 3 segments. We are releasing, like the previous one, on Spotify and YouTube. But we've also started a new Instagram page, and I would really love for you all to come and join us there to know more behind the scenes or unique snippets of the current episodes. So let us know how we could also improve our spaces on different platforms. Thank you. I hope you really enjoyed this episode. Let's dive into it.
Said, come over for Nihari.
Oh,
Okay, so I thought it was his house, but it actually turns out he has a friend, good friend, Pakistani friend, who has a burger joint. This Pakistani burger joint. So I went there. It's called BK Jani. It's called BK Jani, and it's a great food. There was like a big bowl of nihari with naan. But before that, what they gave me was like 4 lamb chops and 4 tikka pieces. So and it was like so much food. I've gorged myself so much, so I can't eat breakfast today. So before podcasting, I usually get up and have a toast with goat cheese on it, and then have coffee. But then it seems I'm so bloody full that I just have this.
yeah. I mean, I can see a little bit of difference. So usually
face?
when we talk, yeah, your face, right? I mean, it is usually smiling. It's not so serious. Today it's almost like I'm full. I can't take it more.
Yeah, I think maybe because I had a full. And the other thing would be like this experience in England was a very different one. It's sort of
Okay.
I must talk about this because it was 2 weeks almost traveling in the forest countryside of London and meeting people who are mostly off the grid, meaning they have a different kind of lifestyle.
Right.
So the first house I went, the family was like almost from the Bible. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They had the family had such a harmony in living in the forest with with livestock, sheep, goats, chicken, and ducks, and large grassland on a slant hill.
Right.
And it's a long story, but I'll make it short, okay? It was like, so how can people live like this? Because they built their house in 10 years. Can you believe that? It took them 10 years.
In 10 years?
Yes, it took them 10 years to build the house, but they were still living on the lot.
So do they build it and live simultaneously?
No. They have a makeshift house, of course, smaller makeshift house. But what I mean to say is that they would decide to build a house, and it's financed just by them, and everything is worked by the father alone. It's a big house, and actually, it's called the big house. It's actually called the big house.
The makeshift house must be the small.
Yeah, it's called the dugout now. It's a dugout. Okay. Anyways, I'll make it short. But anyways, what I found intriguing was how relaxed they were. Not in an Aussie way, meaning, hey, yeah, man, I'm relaxed. Yeah, not like that. But they were relaxed in a very good way, meaning they were alert but relaxed. Calmer. Very relaxed at the same time. So why, and how the whole family gets happiness out of the process of the house. They have 4 kids.
Right.
So they moved in when Eddie, who's the father, built just the essential of the house, the roof, bit of window, not all of it in probably, and maybe a toilet, and maybe a kitchen. And then the family moved in, and they lived while it was being built slowly.
Right.
So, and then we were talking, and then I realized their happiness is like almost every day. Oh, just this part of the wall is complete. Wow. Oh, a beam has been done. Oh my God, it's beautiful. You know what I mean? So, like, the happiness and joy is not about the completeness, but the process. And they were telling me, the parents were telling me, like, oh, what did the children say? Oh, they said, oh, we'll have a door soon in our rooms. Well, that's all they want. You know what I mean? How how it's so small and almost trivial, but then that's happiness lies. So everyone's happy. So it was like for me a revelation how you could build a house in 10 years and find happiness in small things and delayed. So, and it was like almost an art. They have no rush to finish anything. So it's like when you don't have money, they stop. It's like almost like nature. You know how the bear doesn't have food.
Yeah.
They don't store food. I mean, they eat a lot and they just go to sleep, right? Because it's scarce. It's a natural tendency. I'm not saying everyone should live like that. What I'm saying is, oh my God, there's a way to live like this and find happiness. And it was like for me a revelation. So another one. Okay, this was one thing. The second thing was this. There's a group of people who try to live as a commune. It's called Land Matters. Their organization is Land Matters. So at first I thought, oh my God, these must be hippies, right? I thought they might be hippies living like maybe druggies and sharing their wives and, living in the forest. But actually they were not. They had a slight tendency like that. But there was a lot of green there. One thing that I was more interested in that was I was not actually interested in the resident that much as the first house, meaning the first house was a family of almost a scale of biblical, almost biblical beings, But the second people I met in the community weren't, well, they were sort of like dependent on each other to live their lives, while the first family was dependent on with just their family, right? So it was a commune, and in the commune there's always back talk, right? If you talk to people, they have different talks behind other people's backs. So that was something, another revelation.
Similar.
Yes. Well, they were weaker in their mindset, I think. They were living, but they were dependent. And anyway, what I was trying to say, but there I met an old couple.
Okay.
Out of those, they were really interesting because they were very well educated, and one of the guy I think was a writer for BBC, and the wife was like a Vogue art director for the magazine Vogue. So they were like pretty well read. And then I had a great chat with them, like chat afterwards. And then I sometimes talk about DMT, right, the drug that transports you. And then they were actually telling me that they would take mushrooms in the land, where they were telling me. They took the mushrooms, and the mushrooms tell the story of the environment. So that was like really interesting to hear that from them having it, and they were, and also telling me that I should come back to September if I want to experience that nature. That was another interesting.
Yeah.
And I had actually another couple, a very young couple, but they were singers when they were young.
Okay.
Doing the songs like
both
Enya?
of them, is it?
Yeah, both of them were a group.
Oh, okay.
They were like almost gothic singers. Do you know a singer called by the name of Enya? Celtic songs.
Is it? No idea.
Okay, it's like you must have been too young to know that. Maybe it was the early 80s. They were really popular. Anyways, those were those kind of like Celtic, very forestry, gothic sort of singers. But they had the same experience also. They did the MTs, the natural resources.
Right.
So I was like, okay, so they have these group of people have a different kind of consciousness experience backgrounds, and they live in the forest. And it began to tell me a story where I would imagine myself, all these hobbit stories, all these stories, all these plants talking is actually an experience. It must be, you know what I mean? So it's not just their imagination, but kind of an experience or hallucinatory, whatever. So anyway, why am I talking about this? Because the interesting thing about all these people is they are building their own houses by themselves. Okay. That's an interesting thing too. So everyone are building houses according to their whims or their learned experiences or their tendencies. And it was always interesting, all of them. Now, the first family I talked about, he's an architect basically, because he did artwork as a designer. So he did undergrad as a designer. So he was very adept. And the crazy thing about him was, the British animation show called Wallace and Gromit?
No.
Oh, okay. You should check it out. Wallace and Gromit. No.
I think we are from two very different generations.
Yes. Well, we are now finding it out, man. Wallace. You should type in Wallace and Gromit right now. This is very important. Okay. Wallace and Gromit. Just type in as it sounds. Wallace, W-A. Yeah.
Oh, I know
Yes,
this.
yeah,
I've
okay,
watched
so we're
it.
not that far away.
Yeah, we know that by the way.
So why am I mentioning him? Because you know how Wallace has this strange contraption in the morning, and he wakes up, and the machines help him to wear clothing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
this first guy is like that. His house,
Oh.
he has a dugout, which is for Airbnb sort of house. In the house, the switch is in such that it has all pulleys around, so you can actually pull it down, and then you can actually see the pulleys pulling away in gears, and then the light comes on. You know what I mean? So he's a kind of a eccentric inventor. And you go down, sit in the bathroom, and if you rotate a wheel beside the bath, it opens a door. Things like that. So this was a very interesting experience for me. So I told him actually that you reminded me of Wallace and Gromit. Anyway, now we go back to the third person. The third person. Now I'm in the forest all the time. So what I've changed, I become more like plants. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm influenced by this greenery. You know what I mean? Because I'm there all the time, seeing green trees. Everyone talks about the forest and so peaceful. Now the third house. Okay, it's a little bit different one. This guy is a former advertising agency CEO. So he's well off, right? He worked for Sun Microsystems, Microsoft. So he's a big shot, maybe a big shot, right? But he retired. Now, it's totally different because he doesn't live like, the first and second mentioned people, because he has a garden, big garden. You know how English garden is very well tended for? Right. It's very artificial in a way because you take care of, control them. Yeah. But anyway, there was a third person, and I found like different from the first two occasions, but third at least. But then he was very happy with caring of the plants and flowers, and then there's his story is also special because he retired after making enough money, and then his love of gardening, which is a big thing in England, right? Gardening is like important. You know why gardening is so important in England? I think because the weather is perfect. It showers almost every day, so it's like you have a sprinkler on top, so it's always wet. It's always wet, and then it's bright and wet and bright, wet and bright. So plants love it. So it's a perfect condition for grasslands and trees to live. So anyway, that's why garden is popular. Anyway, so he was like, he was so into gardening. And then one day he told me, he just took pictures of his garden. He loved it. Oh, I've done my almost a big garden now after many years. It's beautiful the way I wanted it. And then he just, maybe I should send it over to a competition of some sort. So he sent into a competition in BBC something. And then out of 7,300 entries, he got the first prize.
Oh, that's
a big thing, right? So anyway, he was not a professional gardener, but he won. So, and then afterwards, he became bloody popular. Everyone wanted him. It was a shock for him. So that's why we found him too, because he was famous with his garden, right?
Okay.
Well, anyway, so this 12 days has been every day beer at night and a steak and
oh, nice,
and a lot of vegetables and plants around. So I think it will have some seed, some kind of seed has seeped into me. I think I don't know what it is. So anyway, and on top of that, I'm reading a lot of text nowadays, reading about how climate change. I'm hearing a lot of climate change.
Are you?
Yes, I'm hearing it all around. That's one of the issues in America nowadays in architecture schools too. Right. So I'm hearing a lot of issues regarding that. So you know what I mean? It's all connecting. It's all connecting. And then I was reading some articles and I realized, how there has been an announcement of sixth mass extinction by scholars as early as 1980s, but the government does nothing about it. Well, you see, there's such urgency by the people who know it clearly that there's a mass extinction happening, but nobody acknowledges it because it's not human. So they were saying like 600 plants and animals just disappear every day, and
600
types of species. Yes. See, so nobody knows this, and it's called the sixth extinction, mass extinction, because it's as big as dinosaurs disappearing, but nobody talks about it. So anyway, so there's a group of people who's been talking about this for 20 years or 30 years now, and then they all talk about these DMTs also in the book. so I'm always I'm bombarded by this. So these all things are connecting. Am I going to be an environmentalist? No, I'm not thinking about it. What I'm saying, it's inevitable that something has to happen. But so in the context of this, what is architecture? How should architecture be? Not like we don't want to say like, oh yeah, we're gonna use less carbonate material. Yeah, sure, man. We are So in the context of this experience alone, when I think about architecture in this context, I think in many other routes. I'm not giving up, what I like to do is fun architecture. But what I'm saying, when you think about this, it's sort of, you think about other things. Yeah. Anyway, that's the context of my mind at the moment. I'm not sad or anything. I get a great time. Fresh air every day, barbecues at night. And of course I was filming, but I had, I just walk, like the whole working hours would be 2 hours a day. The rest was just waiting, sitting around, talking to architects or talking to residents and all this shit. So it was a great trip. And I was in the small towns of England, which is really beautiful. They were so cute,
they're cute.
You want to just, take them home. Big shovel. Oh, these are so cute. I want to put them somewhere else. So I really love the English country houses, and really nice. I really loved it. But would I want to live there? No, I don't want to live there. But anyway, that was really good. And
why would you not want to live there?
Why would I? Well, the only country I thought about instinctively wanted to live was Portugal and Greece. And Greece.
Oh, is it? Why is it?
Well, two things: the weather, probably. The weather was good, and also everything's cheap. Cheaper.
Okay.
Portugal. It was cheap when I first visited. Like the coffee was less than €1, less than €1. Was a €5. So I thought, I should live here. It's beautiful wine, fish, a lot of food. Yeah, but England, not very good food. Fish and chips. What do you expect? Fresh haddock and chips. Everywhere you go, chips. Every restaurant, chips. For dinner, you have chips come out. For lunch, chips come out. So, I don't want to live here. No. Many other things. I like it, but I'm saying I never thought I would want to live in London. I'm living in New York, not because I wanted to live here. I was not aspiring to live here. I just have work, right? That's why I'm here. I don't mind living here. I love it. But what I'm saying is, I wouldn't find myself permanently living here, or that's what I mean. I like living, but what I'm saying is I never really consider living in London or New York as my permanent place. Like for example, I didn't go to Mumbai and say I want to live here, and I love the city. It's a different thing, I think. It's a different thing. Even if I go back to Seoul, would I want to live? I love Seoul. Yeah, there's good things and bad things, but I'm Korean, so I'm supposed it's more likely there's a comfort there living. So we could today. So we could choose an architect in the context of this or something like that. I don't know. So do you think of any architect you're interested in this context or the attitudes?
No, I think what was interesting of your travel story was the fact that they were building their own houses. All the people you mostly met. And then you reading books about climate change. What I can remember is the conversation we had about how troubled I was as an architect right out of school. Outside the pavilion, I remember we were having some red color sweep.
Yeah.
And just the way this climate change is, a concern that is dealt with in architecture schools all throughout. There has been this pretty much for my generation at least, throughout my education, starting from like bachelor's to this, right? And there's always been an attitude towards problem solving. So now I'm finding it super interesting that, say, when you being an architect who's been practicing for so long,
22 years.
20. Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying.
You're making a sign.
No. I don't want to say I'm a So, anyways, yeah.
So I've had these drawings which are quite futuristic, no, in a way. So then, they're future imaginations, right? So then, what's next, right? In terms of the kind of built scape you would design, or not just you, but like say as architects, like.
Well, and I have to mention this too. I think I talked to you about this last time, where I'm invited to participate in an exhibition of the possible futures of a flooded city in Australia. I think I mentioned this a lot.
Yeah.
So everything is coming together now, even if I don't want it. Like, why is it all this coming into me? You know, is this a conscious awakening of some sort that I have to wake up to this urgent matter? And I have no leadership whatsoever. I don't want to be a leader in anything. So is it just for me? Why is it all coming converging? You know, so Lismore is about the flood, right? How to deal with a city that's getting flooded more often because of the climate change. So it was like in 5 or 10 years they would have a flood, but now each year they have a flood, and the water is coming up higher and higher. And they asked me to provide a kind of a conceptual solution to the city, which is not joke, right? Which is not a joke. I can't just say, why don't you just all leave? I can't just say, why don't you just leave the city and make the city like Venice? That's a joke, right? So I have to come up with a solution of some sort, which is, I think, on the one hand, could be funny, but on the other hand, it's serious. But I have sketches of what I want to do, so I have it done. I have to make production of it. So that's why if we can, we might have to collaborate on something. That's what I said before. Anyway, so, well, to be honest with you, I'm not really prepared, but I must say this. When I met those people building the houses, they were not actually consciously activists, meaning they wouldn't say, I want to be, they didn't have an ideology. But that's one important thing I think that I learned, that, often the ideology ruins the whole world.